Welcome to NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Southern California. We are gearing up for NASA's Perseverance rover to touch down on Mars. Happening in an hour and a half from now, the rover will attempt to land in Jezero Crater. It is the most difficult landing site on Mars ever attempted. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Raquel Villanueva. In the past, mission team members gathered in our mission control for landings. But this time around, we have COVID safety measures in place. Today's landing will look a little different than what you've seen before. I am in a room by myself, and so is my co-host. Here in the Spaceflight Operations Facility, team members are in different parts of this building. Some are in mission control, others are upstairs for landing operations. We also have isolated rooms for our guests on this show. In total, we have 8 locations covered by 14 robotic cameras that you will be seeing. One of those locations is the dark room, the heart of NASA's Deep Space Network. Think of it as a giant communication switchboard. This is where spacecraft phone home to us from across the solar system and interstellar space. The Deep Space Network has been tracking Perseverance since it left Earth, and there are lots of ways you can watch landing today. We have a 360-degree camera inside the control room. It lets you experience the landing right along with the team while seeing this broadcast. We also have the clean feed. It shows an uninterrupted view of mission control and audio. También tenemos un programa en español. To tell us about it is host Diana Trujillo, who also works on the mission.
Thank you, Raquel. We're so excited to be the sister live broadcast in Spanish. Sintonízate nuestro programa en las redes sociales de Twitter, YouTube y Facebook en la NASA en español para que nos acompañes a un tour virtual de la NASA con entrevistas con astronautas, con participación de artistas, con entrevistas con científicos e ingenieros de Perseverance, con Plaza Sésamo y mucho más. Te esperamos.
Gracias, Diana. And don't forget, we want to see how you are watching the landing today. Use the hashtag Countdown to Mars to send us your photos and videos. To preview what interviews are coming up is my co-host from the JPL News office, Marina Jurica.
Thanks so much, Raquel. The excitement is building behind me right here in Mission Control as we count down to the Perseverance landing. We will be talking to some of the many people who made today possible, from scientists to engineers on the Mars 2020 Perseverance rover team to folks from NASA headquarters giving us a look into the future of Mars exploration. A little later, we will also be speaking with the students who named the rover and the helicopter. Inspirational stories as we prepare for another landing on the red planet. Back to you, Raquel.
Thanks, Marina. Let's give a shout out to the students around the nation learning about Perseverance's mission to Mars with their teachers. We're happy you're with us on this exciting day. Later in the show, we will be answering some of the questions you submitted through your classrooms. Landing on Mars is complex. The team will be calling out milestones as they happen. It's fast-paced, and you'll hear lots of technical terms. To help us translate and explain what is going on in Mission Control is Swati Mohan. She is part of Perseverance's landing team. Thanks for guiding us through landing today, Swati.
Hi, Raquel. I'm happy to be here today.
So, Swati, what is the status of the Perseverance rover right now?
So Perseverance is still in space right now, about 9,000 miles from Mars. So far, she is healthy and on course.
And it takes time to send signals between Earth and Mars. Can you let us know how that affects the information you are seeing?
So Mars is about 127 million miles from Earth right now. That means it takes about 11 minutes from light to travel from Mars to Earth. So all the information that we receive from Perseverance actually happened 11 minutes ago. So the round trip is 22 minutes for us to send a command to Perseverance and hear back on the ground that she's received that command. This is what we call two-way light time.
That's good to know. And can you tell us who else is in the room with you right now?
The operations team is split into 2 different areas. Here in the cruise mission support area, we have primarily the team that has been flying Perseverance from Earth to Mars. You'll see the placards with the roles of each of the people by their stations. Some of the people you may hear talking today are the flight director, who is the conductor of our operations orchestra here, the entry, descent, and landing activity lead, who is a member of the landing team tasked with understanding the execution of entry, descent, and landing, and then also the telecommunications and entry, descent, and landing communications engineers who will be monitoring the signal from Perseverance through the different paths that we have. Upstairs, in what we call the war room, we have almost the entire entry, descent, and landing operations team. And then across the hall from them, we have the surface mission control room, where the surface operations team is ready and waiting to take over as soon as Perseverance's wheels touch the ground.
And you have been part of this mission for years now. Can you tell us what have you been working on?
I've been working on Perseverance for almost 8 years now as a guidance, navigation, and control engineer, working primarily on entry, descent, and landing. One of my big tasks was to help with terrain relative navigation. Perseverance will be the first mission to fly terrain relative navigation. So while she's descending on the parachute, she'll actually be looking at the ground with a camera, seeing where she is with respect to the Martian surface, and choosing a safe spot to land that she can get to. After so many years of working on the mission, it's an honor to be here today as the mission commentator.
We're happy to have you here. Thanks, Swati. We'll be checking back in with you in just a few minutes as Perseverance approaches its next milestone. But for now, let's learn more about the rover's mission once it lands on Mars.
You know, Mars is the closest place that we can reach with robotic exploration that we think had a really good chance of having ancient life.
The Perseverance rover will land at a location called Jezero Crater. Jezero Crater is a very interesting place. It's a crater that once held a lake.
There are a lot of craters on the surface of Mars that could have once hosted ancient lakes, but not every crater that we think had a lake actually preserves evidence that that lake was there.
It had an inflow channel and it had an outflow channel. That means it was filled. The crater was filled with water.
In Jezero, we have probably one of the most beautifully preserved delta deposits on Mars in that crater.
This is a wonderful place to live for microorganisms, and it is also a wonderful place for those microorganisms to be preserved so that we can find them now so many billions of years later.
There is no other place on Mars that has the unique combination of a lake setting, a beautifully preserved delta, and the diverse mineralogy that we have in Jezero Crater. So it's truly a special landing site.
The major goal of the Perseverance mission is to investigate astrobiology on Mars, and in particular, to address the question of whether life ever existed on Mars. The Perseverance rover starts with a design that's very similar to Curiosity. We've added to it a whole new set of science instruments, and these science instruments were purposefully selected to help us in the search for biosignatures.
We're going to be taking microphones with us. For the first time, we're going to have that human sense on another planet.
Perseverance carries with her a grand experiment in spacefaring technology, a helicopter, the name of which is now Ingenuity.
One of the major upgrades that Perseverance has from Curiosity is that it's able to self-drive for a distance of up to 200 meters per day. As the rover is driving, it's literally building the map of the road it's driving on Mars.
Scientists for years have told us that to really unlock the secrets of Mars, we have to bring samples from Mars back to Earth.
So what Mars 2020 is going to do is to drill samples, put them in small tubes. We're going to seal it in its own individual tube. We set them on the surface to provide a target for the second two missions, which hopefully will get in development in the next several years and could potentially get the samples back to Earth by 2031.
Perseverance is a very, very profound first step in both our understanding of our place in the universe and a stepping stone towards human exploration on Mars.
You are watching live Mars landing commentary, and Perseverance is about to reach another important milestone. Swati, can you tell us what is happening?
We are at a milestone where the operations team determines whether they're ready to turn off the transmitter to Perseverance. Turning off the transmitter is like taking your hands off of the wheel. At this point forward, Perseverance would be on her own to execute entry, descent, and landing over 500,000 lines of code. Let's listen in.
Go. Propulsion. Go. Art lead. Go. Team chief. Go. Ace. Go. Launch cruise phase lead. Go. Deputy mission. Go. EDL phase lead. Go. Mission assurance. Mission assurance is go. Chief engineer. Chief is go. Project manager. Projects go. Mission manager. All stations are go for transmitter off. Copy flight. Go for transmitter off.
There you have it, Raquel. We have deemed Perseverance ready to execute entry, descent, and landing on her own.
Thank you, Swati. As we just heard, Perseverance is now operating on its own as it cruises closer to Mars. To help explain what this mission means for the agency is NASA's Associate Administrator, Thomas Zurbuchen. Thomas, this is our 5th rover sent to Mars since 1997. Can you tell us how Perseverance is going to kickstart a new era?
Wow, this is such an important day today, and it really is the beginning of a new era in a sense that we're going from exploration, with experiments on rovers, looking around, doing analysis, to the sample return phase, in which we're not only looking around, looking at the geology, but really turning our rover into a robotic geologist and astrobiologist, collecting samples that we will bring back to Earth. And for us, of course, those are where the best laboratories are of all of humanity. Some of them still remain to be explored by some that are not yet in the science community yet. And that's what we're looking forward to. It's that new phase. The other element that I want to talk about is the amazing technologies that are there. And of course, one of my favorites is the Ingenuity helicopter, this in search of this extraterrestrial Wright brothers moment, controlled flight for the first time elsewhere, Raquel.
Great. And we have a student question on video for you from Macy.
Hi, my name is Macy Ragsdale. My question is anything alive on Mars? Thank you.
Well, Macy, I'm so glad for your question. It's a question I ask myself. Is anything alive there? And frankly, at the surface where we're going right now with Perseverance, we do not believe there's anything alive right there because of the radiation that's there. It's chilling, cold, and there's really no water there. But guess what? We think that 3 billion years ago, this looked like a stream that you may see on Earth. And frankly, a lot more similar than Earth, with water, with a magnetic field, just like the Earth, with an atmosphere. And the question is, at that time, 3 billion years ago, were there single-cell organisms, just of the type that developed on Earth? So is there life on Mars overall? We don't know. But where we're going right now, we're really looking for ancient life. And that's what we're so excited about.
Thank you for your time today, Thomas. And thanks to everyone who has been using the hashtag Countdown to Mars. Here are some of the photos that you've sent in so far. Let's take a look. Now, please keep sharing with us how you are watching this moment today. For now, let's go back to Swati for an important update to what's going on in mission control as we get closer to another milestone.
Hi, Raquel. This next milestone is a communications poll. So during landing, not only will Perseverance talk directly to Earth, but we'll also be talking to 2 spacecraft that are currently orbiting Mars, the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter and the MAVEN spacecraft. This poll is to confirm with the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter spacecraft and the MAVEN spacecraft teams that they are ready and on track to support the relay from Perseverance. Let's listen in.
EDL comm flight.
Go flight.
Have you performed the comm check and readiness of the orbiters?
We have performed the voice check and the readiness poll and can confirm that MRO, MAVEN, EDA, Radio Science 1 and 2, UHF, DTE, DSN, and EDL GDS are all ready to support.
Copy, EDL comm.
So we've just heard that we have confirmation from each of the different orbiters and all of their support equipment on the ground that they are ready and are on track to support the relay from Perseverance.
Great, thank you, Swati. And we just heard that communications readiness poll, which means we are ready to relay the data Perseverance will send to get a better idea of what the rover looks like as it approaches Mars. We have a NASA program called EYES. The visualization lets anyone watching track Perseverance. Here's how the program works.
Follow Perseverance on its journey to the surface of the red planet with eyes on the solar system. From your desktop or mobile device, go to eyes.nasa.gov. Click on the banner, and now you're with Perseverance.
You are watching live Mars landing commentary. Stepping outside mission control to talk to us is Perseverance system engineer, Matt Smith. Thanks for joining us today, Matt.
Hey, Raquel.
Well, coming from mission control, we are going to hear terms related to landing. Can you help us understand what some of them mean?
Sure, definitely. One thing you'll hear a lot about is telemetry. So telemetry is just our way of talking about data that's coming from the spacecraft and telling us important things like temperatures on the vehicle, pressure, how much fuel we have left, and other things that we need to understand for the health and safety of the vehicle. You'll also hear the word nominal, hopefully. Nominal means everything is expected, everything is okay, we're good to go. You'll hear also a lot about velocity and deceleration. So velocity is just our speed combined with the direction we're going, and deceleration is our slowing velocity. So we're coming in at over 12,000 miles per hour, and we're going to slow down to a nice, comfortable 2 miles per hour at landing, and that's our deceleration. Speaking of landing, you may hear a couple important terms at landing itself. One is RIMU stable. So the RIMU is a device on the rover that measures the rover's orientation and whether it's moving. So we want a nice stable landing spot without any motion. You'll also hear UHF stable, hopefully. UHF stable refers to good telecommunications link with the rover and indicates that we've had a good separation between the descent stage and the rover after the sky crane maneuver. Finally, you may also hear Tango Delta nominal or touchdown nominal. That means we've touched down on the surface of Mars within the expected range of safe landing speeds.
Thanks for that breakdown. Now, this is your first Mars mission. What have you learned from this experience?
Yeah, one of my takeaways is that you can almost never be too careful when it comes to Mars. You definitely can't take Mars for granted. You know, we've checked and double-checked and triple-checked everything on our way to Mars. And, you know, even though we've done this once before using the sky crane technique on the Curiosity rover, you know, I think everyone's going to have their, everyone's going to hold their breath until we're on the surface of Mars this time around.
And we have a social media question coming in. Nor the Door on Instagram asks, how complicated is the automated landing sequence and who wrote the code?
Yeah, it's quite complicated. The automated landing software needs to do literally hundreds of things all on its own, just right with sub-second timing accuracy. And it's the result of many hundreds of people over many years, stretching all the way back to Curiosity and then improved for the Perseverance landing today at Jezero Crater.
Great. Thanks for your time today, Matt, and good luck.
Thanks.
Now, landing on Mars is hard. Landing on Mars during a pandemic is even harder. The team behind the Perseverance rover faced one of its biggest challenges when the coronavirus pandemic struck. Here's how they kept the mission going.
When the pandemic struck, the future was certainly unknown. It was like walking into a blind, dark alley. You didn't know what was there, what was in front of you, what you were going to have to deal with.
It's something that nobody expected. It's something that nobody could plan for.
So we all were asked to start working from home.
Rather than your first priority being mission success and getting to the launch pad, your first priority immediately gets displaced, and it's now the safety of the people.
And it took a lot of work to put stuff together in order to keep momentum going, to keep people working safely, keep them healthy, and to keep the project on schedule.
We called the effort Mars 2020 Safe at Work, and the objective was to keep the team as safe or safer than they would be if they were not working. You know, putting a spacecraft together that's going to Mars and not making a mistake, it's hard no matter what. Trying to do it during the middle of a pandemic, it's a lot harder.
And liftoff. As the countdown to Mars continues, the perseverance of humanity launching the next generation of robotic explorers to the Red Planet.
Certainly never done something like this before. Try to lead a team that's flying a spacecraft on the way to Mars while getting ready for landing, while doing it all from home.
There's no doubt that working in isolation, not virtual isolation, but in physical isolation from everyone else, is a challenge.
We had to rethink and redesign what it meant to operate a spacecraft in flight when we couldn't all be in the same room in mission control, seeing the data come down from Perseverance.
It was a major change going to that, you know, looking at everyone on a screen instead of in person.
Because of the pandemic, you can't you know, just pop over your cubicle wall and talk to the person next to you.
It's definitely been a challenge to figure out how to communicate and get everything done remotely, but we've managed to make it work.
We are explorers. Our job is to go into the unknown, and this is just another example of the unknown.
We're really doing something that's transformative and trying to understand whether or not life evolved on another planet. That's the fundamental objective of this mission.
We're all still connected by this incredible mission and this this wonderful team that we have the opportunity to be a part of. So that keeps at least me going.
Pretty much everybody that I've talked to that's associated with the mission has said the same thing, which is you could not have come up with a better name than Perseverance.
It's an amazing serendipity that we get to persevere through working on Perseverance.
Joining us now is Perseverance Deputy Project Manager Matt Wallace. Matt, just how ambitious is this mission, and his team stay on track with unexpected challenges like the pandemic?
Well, it's a very ambitious mission. You know, we're carrying not only a host of new, extremely capable science instruments to do that science mission that we've talked about, but also a number of technology experiments that provide feed-forward information into the next set of robotic explorers or even human exploration of Mars. So there's a lot for us to do. We look a lot like Curiosity, but in fact we're carrying 50% more payload down to the surface of Mars, and so it's been a big challenge. You know, and it was particularly challenging when the pandemic struck. It came at a critical time in our processing. We were just months away from launching. We're trying to essentially get the spacecraft assembled, do the final tests. Did not have a lot of margin in our schedule, and our focus just entirely shifted from that to keeping the team safe and keeping their families safe. And we had to do that quickly, to make the adjustment quickly. I think, you know, we got through it with a lot of help. A lot of people stepped up to make it happen. The team was tenacious, and we managed to get it launched and fly it to Mars. You know, thanks to a lot of help.
And Matt, just how large is the team that worked on Perseverance?
It's a big team. A couple thousand people here just at JPL, in fact, have worked on the mission. And then almost every other NASA center has contributed in some significant and critical way as well. We have over 1,000 industry partners that have provided hardware into this mission from 44 different states, 60 different cities, and of course we have international contributions from Europe and many other international providers as well. So it's a big team. It's taken a lot of people to get us to where we're at.
That is a big team. This is the most difficult landing site ever attempted. Now, why do you think Perseverance is ready to land in Jezero Crater now?
Jezero is tough. I mean, it's scientifically fascinating because it's got a lot of things like craters and, you know, rock fields and cliffs and sand dunes and that sort of thing, which are great for the science community. That's exactly the type of features they're looking for to learn more about Mars. But they're all landing hazards for us. And so we've had to add new technology to relevant navigation, which is the ability essentially to divert away from hazards. But we have taken this system through the same types of paces that we have in previous missions. We've used the same techniques, the same best practices for engineering verification, and in many cases we've used the same people. This, in fact, is my fifth Mars rover mission, and I'm not alone. There's other people on the project in the same situation. So, you know, the team has given it everything they've gotten to put it all out there and to make this successful, and I think we're ready.
Thanks, Matt, and good luck on your fifth mission.
Thank you very much.
Well, Jezero Crater is a location on Mars that has intrigued scientists for years. Let's head over to Marina to learn more about the science goals of the mission.
That's right, Raquel. Here to explain why we want to go there is Deputy Project Scientist Katie Stack Morgan. Welcome, Katie.
Thanks, Marina. Glad to be here.
Now, Perseverance is landing on Mars at the Jezero Crater. Why is it that you and the team chose this particular area?
Yeah, so scientists believe Jezero Crater is one of the best places on Mars and possibly the entire solar system to look for signs of ancient life. Jezero contained an ancient lake and has within it one of the best preserved ancient delta deposits on the surface of Mars. And deltas form when a river enters a relatively open body of water, like an impact crater, and deposits the sediment that it's carrying into the lake. And we know based on studies of deltas and lakes here on Earth that they're great places to concentrate and preserve organics and support microbial life. We're also excited because Jezero exposes rocks that are between 3.5 to more than 4 billion years old and represent a variety of different geological processes.
Now, this might be a tough choice, but what do you think would be the most rewarding scientific discovery that we expect to get from this mission?
Because hands down, I think the most rewarding discovery I think we can make with Perseverance would be finding a truly compelling ancient biosignature on Mars. The rocks in and around Jezero crater record a period of time when life first arose in the solar system, and we have the opportunity with Perseverance to study the evolution of the planet from a once habitable world likely capable of supporting ancient life to the cold, barren planet we know Mars is today.
And why do you think, Katie, it's so important to find out if there really is or was ancient life on Mars?
Well, the question of whether there's life beyond Earth is one of the most fundamental and essential questions we can ask. And our ability to ask this question and develop the scientific investigations and technology to answer it is one of the things that make us as a species so unique. And based on everything we know about Mars in the past, it absolutely should have been capable of supporting ancient life. So we can find out an answer to the question, where there were habitable environments, was there life? And studying the possible emergence of life on ancient Mars can also help us better understand the conditions that led to life on our own planet.
That's so fascinating, Katie. Now we're going to take a question from a student, Vara.
Hi, I'm Vara, and my question is, why was Mars able to sustain lakes and rivers ages ago, but cannot now? Isn't it cold enough to make water, and isn't it always? Thank you.
Yeah, that is such a great question. And one of the things that protects our atmosphere here on Earth and allows liquid water to be stable on our own planet is the fact that we have a magnetic field protecting that atmosphere. We think that Mars lost its magnetic field way back billions of years ago and left the atmosphere exposed to things like solar wind and cosmic rays that basically blew that atmosphere away. And once that happened, liquid water wasn't stable on the surface of Mars anymore. It was too cold and the pressure was too low. And so now Mars is not capable of supporting liquid water and likely not capable of supporting life at its surface.
Well, thank you so much to Vara for that great question. And a big shout out to all the kids that are watching out there today. And thank you so much to you, Katie, for joining us. That was so great.
Thank you.
Now sending it back over to you, Raquel.
Thanks, Marina. Earlier, we were able to catch up with the communication systems engineer, Chloe Sakier. She helps us break down the system used to track Perseverance during landing.
The communications infrastructure supporting Perseverance's landing is quite complex. We've rallied a truly global network of relay and communications assets to help us capture and record those precious minutes of entry, descent, and landing, or EDL. We receive a stream of engineering telemetry via these communication assets that helps us see and understand exactly what's happening. Perseverance sends direct-to-Earth X-band tones, each of which provides us with indications of critical entry, descent, and landing events. During entry, descent, and landing, we have two Mars orbiters listening for the ultra-high frequency, or UHF, signals from Perseverance. These orbiters relay these signals to deep space network stations on Earth, Madrid in Spain, and Goldstone in California. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, or MRO, has reconfigured its software to perform a type of relay called bent pipe. This will provide us with near real-time telemetry during entry, descent, and landing. We have coverage from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter from just before entry to a few minutes after landing. The telemetry we receive will be delayed by the time it takes light to travel from Mars to us back on Earth. Additionally, the Mars Atmosphere and Volatile Evolution spacecraft, or MAVEN, is recording these UHF signals and will be relaying that recording hours after landing. MAVEN will be covering us from around the time of cruise stage separation until a few minutes after landing. We also receive what we call heartbeat tones, which are indications that the spacecraft is alive and progressing throughout entry, descent, and landing. It's important to note that while unexpected, we could lose our communication links and still land safely. Because Perseverance is doing entry, descent, and landing completely autonomously, she doesn't need our help to joystick the landing. The communication links give us added visibility.
And you can see Chloe hard at work inside Mission Control right now. Perseverance's landing might look like the system the Curiosity rover used back in 2012. But landing on Mars is difficult. There's always a risk involved. Here's what needs to happen for Perseverance to touch down safely in Jezero crater.
Nothing can be taken for granted when you get to Mars. There's a lot of things we just don't know.
Space always has a way of throwing us curveballs and surprising us.
I mean, until we get the data that says we're on the ground safely, I'm going to be worried that we're not going to make it.
Entry, descent, and landing is often referred to as the 7 minutes of terror because it takes about 7 minutes to get from the top of the atmosphere of Mars to the ground safely.
The spacecraft has to do all of this by itself.
There are many things that have to go right to get Perseverance onto the ground safely.
There's a lot counting on this. This is the first leg of our sample return relay race. There's a lot of work on the line.
Starting about 10 minutes before atmospheric entry, we get rid of really the spacecraft part of the rover that's been supporting us.
We come screaming in to the Martian atmosphere at 12 to 13,000 miles per hour.
And the heat shield is what dissipates all that initial energy through friction.
The vehicle will continue actually flying itself through the atmosphere. It's sort of like a transforming vehicle that went from spacecraft and now it's kind of like an aircraft actively guiding itself.
When we're going slow enough, we deploy a parachute.
It's the biggest supersonic parachute we've ever sent to another planet. It's critical for slowing down the vehicle.
Perseverance's entry, descent, and landing borrows heavily from that of Curiosity.
But fundamentally, Perseverance is a different rover. She's bigger, she has different instruments.
We've added a lot of smarts on the inside to make it more capable so that it can deal with the landing site that we've given.
The science team identified Jezero Crater as basically an ancient lake bed and one of the most promising places to look for
With us now is Al Chen. He is Perseverance's entry, descent, and landing lead. Al, you were part of the Curiosity rover landing. Does it get any easier the second time around?
It absolutely does not, especially when considering we're trying to land the biggest, heaviest, and most complex rover we've ever built at the most dangerous landing site we've ever attempted. Jezero may look great and promising from a science perspective, but it's absolutely treacherous for landing. There's a cliff wall that's about 200 feet tall that runs right through the middle of the landing site. There are craters full of sand that even if we landed them, we would not be able to drive out of. And there are rocks to the east and actually all over the place, rock fields. That would be a bad day for us if we were to land on them.
Now, Al, what new technology makes this type of dangerous landing possible?
Perseverance is carrying two new technologies that are really kind of under the hood smarts that are allowing us to land at this treacherous landing site. The first is range trigger. That's the ability, we've given Perseverance the ability to decide for herself, based on where she is, when to deploy the parachute. Previously, we used to deploy parachutes, that supersonic parachute, based just on navigated velocity. But now Perseverance has the smarts to figure out where she is and deploy that parachute at just the right place to make sure that we shrink where we could come down. That actually reduces the area, that error ellipse, where we can come down on the ground, from something that was on the order of 15 miles long by 12 miles wide for Curiosity to about 5 miles long by 4 miles wide for Perseverance. So that's quite a bit of reduction. Second, the next piece of technology that's helping us land there is terrain relative navigation. In the past, after we've popped off the heat shield, we've taken pictures of the ground as it's been coming up, but we haven't really done anything with them. This time, Perseverance is carrying a camera to take pictures, but also a kind of second brain to help it figure out what those pictures are telling it and match it up with an onboard map from a satellite. That allows it to figure out exactly where she is. Suddenly then, she can then fly to safe spots that are nearby once she really knows where she is. It allows the site to not have to be as flat and boring as a pancake as some of our past sites have been, the entire area we could come down. Now we just need little pieces of that site to be small enough and safe enough for us to land in safely and fly there after we've gotten rid of the parachute.
And we also have a social media question coming in. Sansakari14 on Instagram is asking, how does the sky crane decide where to move itself after the payload lands?
After the payload lands, after the rover touches down, the sky crane, the descent stage, which is that rocket-powered jetpack above it, the first job, of course, is to make sure you don't hurt the rover. So it'll turn forward or backward so that the engine plumes don't pass over the rover. So it'll come up and start to turn. And it'll go in whichever direction is closest to north. So it can either go forward, if that's the way north is, or go toward the rear of the rover, if that's where north is. And it'll fly about 1/3 of a mile or so away.
Thanks for talking to us today, Al.
Thank you very much.
Now, let's head back to Mission Control for an update from Swati.
Hi, Raquel. So remember that command that we sent at around 11:35 to turn the transmitter off? We are just about to get confirmation that Perseverance has received the command. The command took 11 minutes to go to Perseverance, and then the reply took 11 minutes to get back from Perseverance to the ground. So we should hear any second now that we have officially turned off the transmitter. And after that, we will be about 4 minutes from the start of entry, descent, and landing mode. At this point, we will transition from the cruise approach mode to entry, descent, and landing. And that means our travel from Earth to Mars is done, and now we just need to get to the surface. So far, things are looking good.
Great.
Oh, this is CAD 3, ready to show estimated miss distance for OD 132.
Copy EDL phase, we'll come back. Flight ACE. Go ACE. Our tracking stations have all confirmed the results of the transmitter drive off and in lock one way. Copy ACE. GDS flight. Flight GDS. At this time, I'd like to disable the alarms before EDL main. So please disable all the alarm files and start a new downlink session. Copy that, EGP. Copy that, proceeding now.
Confirmation that we are now officially one way and the transmitter is off.
Rover mission has helped shape the other, starting with the landing of the Pathfinder more than 20 years ago, leading up to where we are today with Perseverance. Perseverance Deputy Project Manager Jennifer Trosper has worked on every Mars rover mission, and she joins us now. Jennifer, how does Perseverance fit into the history of exploring Mars?
Thanks, Raquel. It's great to be here. Well, Perseverance is NASA's 5th rover on Mars, and I've had the privilege of working on every one of them. And the very first rover was the Sojourner Rover we sent in 1997, and it was the size of a microwave oven. And even at that small size, Sojourner was able to transform the way that we explore Mars, from stationary landers to small roving robots that go from place to place, just like a geologist would on Earth. So once we had that roving capability, then we sent our twin rovers Spirit and Opportunity. Spirit and Opportunity were tasked with finding evidence of ancient water on Mars. Now they did. They're great explorers, and both of them found ample evidence that water had once existed on the surface of Mars. But we had a question. Another question then was Mars ever habitable if water had been there? And that's when we sent Curiosity. Now Curiosity was a major upgrade to our rover fleet. She's the size of a small car. She landed with the sky crane system instead of airbags. And she also carries along her own sample analytics lab, and she's still operating today. And during her exploration, she has found evidence of a habitable environment in an ancient lake bed on Mars. So now we're sending Perseverance. Perseverance is tasked with answering the question and looking for evidence of ancient microbial life on Mars. And in order to do this, she has to be the smartest and most capable rover we've ever sent.
Speaking of Perseverance, can you tell us more about how Perseverance is smarter than its predecessors?
Yes, we've made a lot of upgrades to help her along with the surface mission. One of them is for her autonomous traverse capability. When I say autonomous traverse, I mean we tell her where we want her to end up, and she has to figure out the safe and best way to get there. In order to do that, she uses her cameras, algorithms, a computer. So we've given her another computer